So today is almost June, and I've just finished working on Musing Meadows, and I've uploaded it to YouTube, scheduled it to be sent to be published on Saturday. This is the sort of director's commentary behind the scenes. Part of this channel is talking about and documenting my artistic process, about how I make audiovisual art. And so this video is sort of behind the scenes about how I made it, about the process of it, of Musing Meadows. Musing Meadows is the first complete visual art piece I've made for YouTube, and it was definitely a learning process. Part of it, a lot of it, was just effect demos. It started with I saw a video on the internet. Future me, please find that video. You know the one. And I wanted to do that portal effect because it looked really cool. I knew a way to do it. It's pretty easy. It's just rotoscoping or pulling a mat, just transparency. There's an image of grass on top of where I go in, so it looks like I go into nowhere, and it's pretty cool. And that's where it started from. And so I made the arch, and pretty much as soon as it was done, I was really excited. I really wanted to test it because it looks cool. And you can see the scene where I'm going in. That scene in front of the big truck is the first test of it. You can see on the ground next to it where I spray painted the portal on the grass, because I just picked it up right away. Quick breakdown of the whole project is there's a couple elements. There's the filming of it, which is the bulk of the visual elements. There is the music, which is a pretty significant part. And then there's the special effects and the filters and things, which I'll get into later. So we're now in the filming, which is a big visual element. And there's three big things. three more things. Planning, it was pretty impromptu, and that sort of came back to bite me later. I didn't really have a plan where I was going, and you can sort of see the climax doesn't really hit. The character comes in from the road, from these industrial pipe looking things, big scary machines. It's an air conditioner. And they go into the portal, and they go in the woods, and there's magical fairyland, but they're not quite sure how to act there. They're sort of out of their element, and they go spooked. They drop their bag or something. They run away. You can see how the comics doesn't just really hit. You can see the theming if you can sort of see there, but the script could have used another 2 or 3 drafts. Yeah, planning, pretty impromptu, but you know what? It's out there. I learned things. It accomplished the goal. 2, with the effects, I think this is a small thing, is be more thoughtful in how I set those up. I should have set the resolution higher. I usually don't shoot in 4K because the files are huge and annoying to work with. But for the effect files, being able to downscale afterwards or zoom in, fix the frame a little bit, that would have been very helpful. Also, how I composed the shots. They were generally fine. I like that I got more dramatic with the angles when I went to the woods. I like those a lot. And I wish I had done similar things going in. I wish I had chosen a better location for the going in place. Also being more aware of how the effect would work. In one of the shots coming out, I bumped the portal, and that was really annoying to fix in post because because it moves, and so I had to either you would see a little bit of me behind the portal where you shouldn't, or you'd see sort of a gap in the portal. The portal looked like it would open up. So that was annoying to fix. So being more thoughtful in how I composed those shots would have been very helpful. What was the third thing? There was a third thing, I swear. Oh, acting. I'm not a great actor. I belong behind the camera. Why am I talking to a camera? This is not supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be over there. Why am I here? So anyway, I'm not a super strong actor, and I think better acting, even for me, my facial expressions were not very strong, pretty limited, pretty just close up on human face. Hi. And so that was most of the visual elements. The audio, I think, was pretty strong. I sort of shot most of it impromptu, and I edited together a basic sort of structure based off how much film I had. I only shot so much B-roll. I padded it out a little bit. I went through my collection of personal videos and found the video, the bug in the jar. That was just something I had lying around, And so I put those into the mix and sort of for the climax because they're spookier, they're more dramatic. Bird of the Vulture. And so I made the rough edit, and the first pass was like a minute 30 or something. And so then I went into the music, which is really quickly became more fulfilling, more good part of the project. And so I'm actually going to go over to my workstation, my desk, and I'll show you how I made the audio. Cut to do the audio. Yes. So now I'm going to talk about the audio more. So there's a lot of tracks. I'm going to go through them as quickly as I can without getting bogged down too much. The first track is the wind sound that you hear at the beginning. Throughout the whole song, it's get mixed in. This is made in Italian. It's basically just some white noise being put through a bunch of fancy filters that move and are modulated by random ways by this sort of swoopy LFO. And that's more or less all of this. I bounced two audio to try and save processing power because this file is a little bit big with all the synthesis going on. This windy pad that you heard at the beginning and the end, it's the sort of the real world motif going on. That is made in Zin Fusion, or Zin Add Sub Effects. I didn't actually make it, it's a preset that came with the plugin. It's a subtractive synthesis that's got some white noise going through a kind of fancy filter to make the windy sound, the windy sort of flute sound. The glass blink, I think, is rather interesting. It's also made in Vitalium. The initial wave source is a wavetable that I made by modeling after a actual recording of a glass plinking against each other, and that returned that. And then it's being turned on and off really fast by this LFO, and the speed of that is determined by this envelope, which actually makes sort of a really fast delay effect, which makes this really sort of quick delay effect, like hitting something and like having glasses bounce off each other. There's also some white noise in there on a bandpass to give it a more full body because it was a little shallow. The wavetable has no modulation or anything; it's just a single waveform. Then the MIDI notes that it's playing is actually only on the beat. To make it more rhythmically interesting, it's going through a second delay, but this one syncs to triplets. So you get the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 kind of pattern that it's going through. And it's going through some basic notes. And this is where we really start to establish the key center. This is a progression in C, and actually goes C A C G, I think. But it's got a pretty strong modal center to the piece, which will become more important to the whole of the song later. This first lead sound is made in Surge. Again, I use a preset that came with the plugin. It's very good. It's called Butter. It's very smooth. And to make it a little bit more expressive, since it is a lead, I used the mod wheel to automate sort of some patterns on the voice to make it sound more natural. The second darker lead is in the middle part. We'll get back to the structuring later. But during this part when it plays, it gets more confused and disoriented. So there's a few things going on. One, as it plays through, you'll notice it gets more dissonant and out of tune. The other thing that's going on is it's actually played twice. I recorded it and put it through a granular scattering filter, which gave it this sort of off-beat, off-kilter thing, and those two are mixed together. I don't want to get too caught up on the percussion because it's not super important to the track. The kick is also a Surge preset that's just pitched low. The sort of distorted kick that comes a little later during the climax is the same preset but messed up to make it more dissonant and through some weird effects. Again, I use that granular scattering plugin. The hi-hat sound I made in Helm. It's pretty simple. I just wanted more, a little bit more modularity. I really like Helm for hi-hats actually because it's very simple. It's very straightforward. The snare is also made in Surge. I believe another preset. The portal sound is made in Vital and is this huge, complicated pad, which I probably should have bounced audio because it sucks up all of the processing power. Basically, I just sat down and went to town, making this really complicated sound, with all sorts of crazy voices and modulation and effects going on. But what it's doing something a little bit interesting. There's a submaster for the whole song, and as the portal sound is coming in, it makes almost everything else in the song get louder with it, and so the whole piece sort of swells with the portal sound, which I think is really neat. Now let's talk about the overall structure of the song. So there's 3 sections and a little extra. So there's an intro and an outro, which I don't really consider part of the song, though it is definitely part of the song. So I suppose there's actually 5 sections. So we start outside the railroad, and I think the song really begins when we enter through the portal the first time. This part of the song is in C major, and it's in a very even time, and sounds nice. As we move into the middle section, we start to get more confused. We start to realize we're not as familiar with the woods as we think we were. And the key changes. I forget the exact mode I changed to. I'm lowering key and everything, but it's something a little bit weirder. And the tempo actually starts to slow down very slightly as we come to this part. The third section is the climax part, where we're running away back towards the portal. And this part is in a different... I think this is in... It's in one of the actually sort of weird, really distant sounding modes. And so it sounds really strange to someone who's usually... to a listener who is used to more common scale modes. Key modes? Modes of music. These guys. And as we move through these 3 sections, there's first very little percussion. There's the plink, which gives the rhythm, but there isn't really any big drum sounds. As you move through, the cymbal and the hi-hat come in more, and so you get more anxious as this sort of out of beat rhythm moves with the change in tempo. And during this final third section, the tempo is actually speeding up. That's the whole of the song. It went through like probably 5 revisions, going through as I composed the song and found the right key changes and the right sort of voices to use. Trying to move through the different pieces of the song was very challenging, but I worked through it. There isn't a whole lot of processing going on here. It's mostly just synthesis and sound design, which is pretty good. And I like it. I really like how it came out. I very much like it. And so that's what this is. If you'd like it, I'm going to make available in the description all the stems from this song, so you can remix it, do whatever you want with it. Feel free to whatever. Have fun. Go make some music. But now we're going to get back to the visual elements as I go through the special effects and the filtering. So the third big part was all the effects and processing on the video. I really wanted to get more deep in than just cutting and fading with manipulating video footage. The portal effect was pretty simple. It's just a basic sort of rotoscoping basic matte where you cut out. I explained this earlier. You cut out the photo of grass behind the portal, and I walk behind the layer with the grass on it. That was pretty easy. On the car, since it was a reflective surface, there's a separate rotoscope on the car which moves to blank out the shadow because it's sort of, as I walk, my reflection moves, and I walk into where my reflection moves into where I was before, so I have to move the mat. A couple other things I did is I used data blending. Data blending is a glitch art process in which you trick a computer into editing one type of file as though it's another type of file. For example, editing video as though it were sound, which is what I did. Data blending process you can Google online, but basically I took apart one of the close-up scenes and I put it into a raw format, opened it with Audacity, and I did weird audio effects that you shouldn't do to visuals. Like, I put reverb like you would put on a sound onto it. I EQ'd that sound like it was a sound. I EQ'd the video like it was sound. And then I put that back into a video, and it looks weird. It's a glitch. That's data blending. And so that's where I got some of the glitchy processes. The blinky, very flickery glitch that I use for many transitions also came from a data blending process where I messed up the conversion back and got basically rubbish. And I used that very briefly, very quickly got that sort of blinky, cut, glitchy, distortion-looking effect. Yes. The other thing, this is just something specific that I haven't done. It's pretty basic. The rapid cutting, I don't know what you call exactly that sequence. The rapid cut sequence. I just never done anything like that. And so that was neat to do. It was a little bit difficult to sync. Something I would do in the future. I got annoying exporting audio multiple times. So I would have made a track that was just the beat very loud. And to make it very obvious in the editing timeline where I could do it. The opening animation was made in Blender. It's nothing particularly complicated. It's just what I know how to make with my skill set. I've worked on and off in Blender occasionally. It's not my forte, but I know a little bit, and I wanted to be more there. I made some other sort of basic animations recently, and I wanted to do something that would contribute to a bigger project with it, which was the opening animation. It was pretty basic. There's a plane that is distorted, and it's reflective, and there's a portal that's glowing, and there's text that's glowing. And the focal length changes. The last big effect was the VHS filter. So, planning is there actually exists on my computer a proper 16:9 HD version of it. In a perfect world, I would have edited things intentionally to be properly 4:3 all the way through. Whatever, I sort of wrangled, kind of sloppily, poor planning, into being a 4:3 ratio and downscaling the resolution to make it a little bit easier, which I'll get to in a sec. How I got the VHS effect is actually playing it off of a VHS tape. I sip a VCR into my computer, and I've been digitizing old family tapes, and so I took a tape with nothing on it. So I took the 4:3 aspect ratio version of Musing Meadows. When anything with an analog out would have worked, I downscaled the resolution a lot, so it would play quicker on the tiny Raspberry Pi processor. So then I just played it into the VCR, recorded on a tape with nothing on it, and then recorded it out, and I got this excellently grainy looking, sort of glitchy, the bloom, the fuzzy lighting. And the opening animation looked really beautiful on VHS, and I really like that. I like that so much, I kept it. And this will probably be more of a theme I keep if I am trying to put together an album of many songs. And this will probably be a theme I try and keep going with it, is sort of degraded, sort of vintagey, glitchy looking technology, and I really like the way that came out. So that's pretty much how I made Musing Meadows. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. There'll be more coming in the future. Woo! Hi, you need a name. This is Mix Robot. They need a name. Comment suggesting a name. Boost that engagement. Name Mix Robot.